Jai Gurudev Bela. I'll just mute all and then you can unmute yourself, okay?
Sahana bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu sah viryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Hari Om, Jai Gurudev. So yesterday we were looking at Arjuna's questions and the reply of Bhagavan. Arjuna had questioned innocently that your knowledge is very beautiful, but I'm not able to be Samadarshi because of my agitated mind. The second question, he says, my mind is agitation. So Bhagavan is very beautifully replying to Arjuna. That you are, O Kaunteya, O Mahabharata, you have to I will just read the questions and then I will read the reply. I will just read Arjuna's question once again. I'm sorry, I think I went too much ahead. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sitim stiram. Arjun said, this yoga that you have talked about as sameness, O Krishna, I do not see its steady vision due to agitation. Here we just have to remember the word Krishna. Chanchalam himana Krishna Ramadhi balavadridam tasaham nigraham manye vayo sudushkaram. As we all know Krishna, the mind is agitation, a strong, well-rooted tyrant. I think of it impossible to control as wind. So here Bhagavan replies, he's sympathizing with Arjuna and he's telling that there is no doubt that Mana's nature is like that. It is not something new. It is like natural to be because Mana's nature, Swabhava is like that. So Krishna answers Arjuna's question about how to manage the mind. Shri Bhagavan uvacha asamshayam mahabaho Manodurnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. No doubt, O mighty armed Arjuna, the agitated mind is very difficult to control. But, O son of Kunti, by practice and objectivity, it is mastered. So we have to see here, Bhagwan has put emphasis on practice and objectivity. Practice is abhyas, repetition. So we had seen here repetition. First of all, the acceptance is the first step. Accepting that your mind's nature is agitation, that is the journey. But you have started with the first step of the journey to mumukshutvam. There is nothing illogical in the world. Everything is having a logic, even if it is your thought, which is very, very illogical, but it has its logic. Caring for the child within. He is addressing, Bhagwan is addressing Arjuna in the first verse as Mahabaho, that although you are physically very strengthy, you have all the Yuddha Kaushalya, everything, but O Kaunteya means you still need to take care of the child within. So, Abhyasena vairagyena cha grihyate. Krishna then tells Arjuna how this is to be done, saying that by practice and objectivity, the mind can be mastered. And is this abhyasa? That is the practice of yoga, as discussed by Bhagwan. And what is that yoga? That is through that yoga, through which a certain distance is gained between your mind and yourself. This distance enables you to look at yourself positively, to see yourself exactly as you are, to see what the nature of I is. In this way, you come to understand that every thought is you, no doubt, but that you are free from that thought. So that thought is I, but that I is not the thought, is what called nididhyasa. So seeing this particular fact more and more, seeing it inside very clearly is what is meant by abhyasa, practice. And seeing this particular situation, thought being I, while I is not any thought, is what is called nididhyasa. And doing the same thing again and again is called abhyasa, which enables you to gain mastery over your mind. Abhyasena grihyate. And for that, Bhagwan is suggesting practice of japa. The practice of japa, abhyasa of japa can also be included, because here your mind, you can have the predictable mind here when you are doing the practice of japa. Mental repetition of a given mantra, a meaningful name, word, or sentence is called japa, is a must and is never given up even by a sannyasi. The usefulness of mantra. A brahmachari has a mantra, a grihastha has a mantra, and a vanaprastha has a mantra, and a sannyasi also has a mantra. There is no one who is without a word that is meaningful, either chosen by the person or given to that person by a guru or some enlightened person. So a particular mantra is important because it gives you a certain hold. That is why japa of some sort is common to all traditions. It gives you this particular capacity of knowing exactly what is going to happen next. It is the only situation where your mind is predictable. It makes the mind abide in the Atma, to make the mind Atma Sthita. Contemplation is appreciation of a fact. In this way, the distance between the thought and the self becomes very clear. The thought is this, the thought is not everything. Thought is imbued with the self. This becomes very clear. And if I turn my attention towards the self, it becomes contemplation. I appreciate the self as independent of the thought. The more you appreciate this fact, thought becomes purely a role. It is not taken as everything. So you keep a distance between the thought and your real I, your real self, your real Atma, which is Sat Chit Ananda Swarup. Why the mind wanders? So we will just see here in detail again, once again, why the mind wanders. If anyone wants me to repeat or to contribute for the meaning of the verses what we have seen already, please let me know. Why the mind wanders? The second means for making the mind abide in itself, mentioned here by Krishna, is vairagya, objectivity. Why does the mind go here and there in the first place? The mind goes elsewhere purely due to lack of interest. The nature of the mind is to go wherever there is some kick, wherever there is something more interesting. Some interest must be there, and towards that it goes. Thus, without your trying to dwell upon anything in particular, the mind naturally goes towards the objects that it finds more interesting. The mind goes towards an object of love and towards an object of pain also, since pain means that something requires attention. These are the two places towards which the mind goes without any effort on your part. Why? Because one is interesting and other requires attention. In an object of love, there is a certain joy, a certain pleasantness to which the mind naturally goes. And towards any object that hurts you or has hurt you, the mind also goes quite naturally. One is positive, whereas the other, being something that requires attention, is negative. Objects of pain can be taken care of by abhyasa, whereas vairagya is with reference to objects of love. By abhyasa, a certain distance can be developed between oneself and the pain, although this may take some time. Vairagya is mentioned here separately because the source of all desires for happiness and security is what we call Shobhana Dhyasa, meaning that you superimpose certain attributes upon various objects in the world and then think these will bring you happiness and security. That a particular object is going to make me more
Gurudev,
secure is
Ella,
yeah,
I think there is a bit of a break in the
yeah,
voice.
there is constant message coming that your internet is unstable.
So, shall I share?
You,
Yeah, I will take
yeah,
over.
yeah, please. Dhanyavad. Suggesting here, Bhagwan is saying abhyasa for staying away. I mean, you do not consider yourself as that thought of pain. And vairagya for the situations or things which you consider as something for which make you happy. Although they are temporary, but still you believe that they are permanent, and you feel that you can be happy if you have that situation, if you have that person. So that is nothing but the superimposition. Shobhanadhyasa.
So you stopped here at this, right? Objects of pain.
Yeah, you can repeat that. Yeah, that's what abhyasa and vairagya, the difference is very well mentioned there.
So objects of pain can be taken care of by abhyasa, whereas vairagya is with reference to objects of love. So these are the two places where the mind naturally goes, because wherever there is interest, it will go. Wherever there is anything pleasant, it would go. And wherever there is pain, because it requires attention, it will naturally flow. So for objects of pain, you use abhyasa. We use abhyasa as a tool, whereas vairagya is with reference to objects of love. By abhyasa, a certain distance can be developed between oneself and the pain, although this may take some time. I think, for instance, if you're having a headache, if you can distance yourself from that experience of pain, say this pain is happening in the body, and you give that gap between yourself, the I, and the pain. That might take some time. Vairagya is mentioned here separately because the source of all desires for happiness and security is what we call Shobhanadhyasa, meaning that you superimpose certain attributes upon various objects in the world and then think these will bring you happiness and security. That a particular object is going to make me more secure is one such attribute. Or by achieving this or that, I am going to be different. I'm going to become somebody. I'm going to be acceptable to myself and to others. First to others and thereby to myself. Why we seek acceptance from others? So before that, the Shobhanadhyasa is where we superimpose certain attributes on objects, situations, and people, thinking that I will get security and happiness if I acquire them or if I get them. So that you think you're going to become acceptable to yourself, first by being acceptable to others and thereby to yourself. Why we seek acceptance from others? The seeking acceptability from others is nothing but self-acceptance. Self-acceptance through others. Why should anyone... Yes.
Jai Gurudev, Dr. Brahmara.
Yeah.
What I was relating, sorry, what I was relating to, the object of pain can be taken care of abhyasa. Like whenever you have pain, your mind automatically, like it goes to that site or to that incident. So it's not so easy to overcome that pain. So what I understood was that, again, the what I practiced was that the source of pain, which by the abhyasa of japa, which I could overtook it and could be free of it.
Which is true, which is perfectly true, that practice of japa helps keep your mind in a predictable state, which is wonderful. But along with the practice of japa, maybe japa is like I don't know whether I'm right, is like a distraction for the mind. You're hooking the mind
Yeah.
onto something, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
it's
with
a distraction, and it's
japa,
also the surrendering feeling to Bhagwan, that taking the name of Bhagwan the whole day showers some grace, at least, so that the pain is relieved, or you are free from that botheration of mind or the thoughts coming. It acts both ways. But like the sentence written, objects of pain can be taken care of by abhyasa. If you can more simplify it, how further we can take care of the pain by abhyasa. Otherwise, whenever you have pain, it's not easy to forego that situation. It repeatedly has like it's a sting in your body and mind that consistently pricks you, and you cannot waver your mind from that pain for a second also.
completely agree with you. I think here, no doubt, japa is a tool, but with constant practice of even japa, here, I think what Suma was mentioning yesterday about Gurudev saying, you are more powerful than your problem. You are much bigger than your problem. That awareness, when it becomes strong, and that conviction is there, then like what happened to Ramana Maharshi and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, they were going through a lot of pain. But I'm not sure whether it was only japa that brought them out. Of course, that is a means. But the distance, that gap they had created between themselves, the Atma, as well as what they were experiencing as pain. Pain is nothing but a recurrent thought. I have pain, and supposing a pain in the leg or the pain in the back, or an emotional pain of maybe loss of something, or something sad has happened, and that constantly keeps reminding you. It's a constant thing that keeps on happening. It's a thought, basically. So in order to distance yourself from that, no doubt japa is a practice, but along with japa, along with that, maybe japa is like a distraction, so to say. You're taking the mind away from that, the painful thought. That is one. But ultimately, I think what is meant by that abhyasa is where very naturally you distance yourself. You're able to see yourself different from the other 6 levels of existence. You distance yourself. Witness conscious.
Pramalaji, what happens now in the japa, you are absorbed in that nama, that mantra. You're absorbed. Means mad bhaktaha majjana is there, no? You're completely absorbed into it. That so you anyway by japa you are distracting, and when you are absorbed in the mantra or in the name of the God, you become that, then you can overcome. That is what is needed also, no? Like in that vibration, that in Om, when we feel, you are absorbed. Mat bhaktaha majjara. There is one more word there.
Madhyaji.
Matyasa.
Madhyaji.
That happens in japa. You see, in that japa, you are completely absorbed. Mad bhaktaha, with bhakti. It has to be ultimately come to that, and you become that. When you are absorbed, you are completely in, out, everywhere. You are in that nama japa, you are in that vibration, you become that.
Sage Valmiki.
That is what is needed. ultimately it comes to that only. Majja, I don't know that word, I could not get it. You become that, in japa. You are absorbed. You will not be distracted. You will not be, you become. You're telling it by oral, but you become that when you are
Hariom.
constant practicing it.
Brahmaraji,
And-
distraction word, even I don't agree with, because sage in Valmiki, if you see Dhruva, these, I mean, they had just Ram se bada Ram ka naam. So I think japa has,
No, that has, no, ultimately it becomes,
it's
I
very
think,
powerful too.
in the 18th chapter, that Majja, that I am not getting it, that word, that is the ultimate. Afterwards, Krishna, that is the ultimate, he says. Mad Bhaktaha, Mad. The three words are there. You become that, and you Swarupa and everything. You are that. You are that. And that's a perfect tool to become it. It doesn't happen that way.
Can you clear it with Nanaji once, Dr. Brahmara?
No problem. I will take this question to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with what you're saying, Sureshji, and also Bela. But the thing is, this requires constant abhyasa. Like what Dr. Savita was mentioning, japa, when we do for a certain amount of period, when you're doing that japa, at that point, your mind is taken away from that. But again, the monkey mind might come back to that point of object of pain again and again. So for a person,
once you start, no, you are observed in it. You will not leave it.
Sureshji, I'm not denying the fact. I'm not denying the fact.
Even while chanting the
Give me 1 minute.
Nanaji says no.
Yeah,
Nanaji
I'll just
says
explain.
No. While chanting the Bhagavad Gita also, he says you are absorbed into it.
Correct. But I'm not denying the fact. Sureshji, as long as you're chanting, as long as one is chanting, at that point, for that period, maybe half an hour, 1 hour, whatever the time period that you're chanting, your mind is, of course, not engulfed in that object of pain. So there is that distance that you have created. So you're not.
It happens. No, that japa happens. Whether you do it or not, it will be going on into your mind. You are absorbed into it.
Yeah,
that's continuous.
Let
not
me just
for 108 times, not 100. That's a practice. But once you are into it, you are that.
So for a beginner of japa practice, this is what happens. During the time of japa, your mind is off the painful object or painful situation, whatever it is. But after you've done your japa, I'm just talking of a beginner. I'm not talking of someone who's been doing japa for a long time. So when you come out of that chanting period, the mind can slip back again and get drawn to the object of pain. So it is temporary that at that point. That is why it is said, abhyasa, it will take time and you have to keep doing it repeatedly. It is not enough if you chant and then say, oh, I'm free from it. Isn't it? So this requires constant practice, so much so that japa becomes an ajapa japa. That is, even when you're not chanting, it is going on, it is happening inside of you by itself.
Yeah, that's correct.
Then that will create that distance. That requires a certain amount of abhyasa. Repetition. Repeatedly, you go on doing. That is why abhyasa is required. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't say, okay, I'm going to chant 1008 Gayatri today, and then I'll be free from this. The mind, nature of the mind, it will keep going back again. So it is like you are creating a different path in your mind by chanting, which separates you from everything else that may be whether it's painful or not. You create that distance between yourself and the thought, yourself and the mind. Ultimately, all this problem, either pain or Shobhana Dhyasa, is nothing but a thought. Even the superimposition is a thought. We think that this gulab jamun is going to give me pleasure. That Shobhana Dhyasa, we attribute it to it. But with this practice and constant practice, I think that is what I will take this question to Nana and check. We'll ask him to explain. Can you articulate your question one more time, Savita ji, or you can maybe put it in the group so that we'll take it up there.
Yes, I
I
will.
think Sarlaji has put that 18.65. Always think of me.
Manmana
Bhava.
madbhaktaha
Madhyaji
madhyaji
man namaskar. That is the ultimate, this is the 18.65. That was the ultimate. We have to reach to that. And japa makes you to that.
Yeah, this was what the Nanaji, with whom I contacted many years back, he used to say that you constantly take my name and you will come to me. And this we saw what when he left his bodies. It was such a proven thing that it make the more it grained into the minds that japa is very important.
See, japa is
chanting of Bhagavad Gita also is a japa. And Nanaji agreed that when he chants, he goes into the, he says, he is absorbed into it many times. Like sleep, he was telling, that is what. Manmana bhava, mad bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskur. Really.
It's for a prolonged period of time, I think.
Te pratijane priyosi me.
When you say for many, like prolonged period of time, then it
that
becomes
is abhyasa,
involuntary.
Long period of time is abhyasa.
See, in that case, then the pramana, the Veda would have said, you get Atmajnana with japa, but that is not what is mentioned, right? We get the recognition happens with knowledge. Japa, no doubt, is a practice. So no doubt it is like an, I don't want to give it the name accessory, but it is a tool. It's a necessary tool. It's a tool, yes, but it is not something that will take you to the ultimate. That will make you.
No, that is again the knowledge itself.
So for that, you require knowledge.
That. No, means knowledge. You become that. That's the ultimate knowledge.
Your knowledge is very important. Right?
So knowledge, therefore, going back to the pramana and being in this knowledge. So a combination of both, I think, are required. Bhakti is required. Chanting, bhakti, japa, all that is required. Whereas jnana is also it is equally important.
Bhakti leads to knowledge. That is what. And knowledge, you become knowledge.
It is like the two wings of the bird. You require both for the bird to fly.
Yes, you have beautifully put, Brahmaraji. I completely agree. It is a tool. Yes.
I will take this question, Savita ji, but just articulate your question so that I can ask him exactly what you had in mind. And
yes, sure.
We'll take
Yes, I think Sarlaji has put one more question, whether it has to be done before the meditation or after the japa.
What Gurudev says is it has to be sandwiched between two meditation. Japa. I think Spandakarika had mentioned, you do the chanting between two you meditate, come into that space and then chant. After you finish chanting, you again meditate.
Jai Gurudev Brahmaraji.
Yes.
Many times we have heard Bhanu Didi also that only japa is not enough because our mind is very smart. it is like a sponge continuously on one side of the mind. We will hook on to the japa, and simultaneously so many other things, other thoughts will also be our mind continuous. It will entertain. It's really, really very smart. That's why keep it as one of the tools, the japa. But when the japa is happening for some time, you will get totally diverted from all other activities of the mind for a period of time. And then once it becomes a routine kind of thing, and then again the mind will, one side it is, the japa is happening, but simultaneously 2 3 4 places the mind will be running around, thousands of places maybe. So that is why this technique of sahaj has come up. No, Bhanu Didi has told this, shared this many times, I think so. That is why the technique of sahaj is very different from continuous japa, and very smartly how we sneak into the other layers of our existence through sahaj. There also we have the mantra, but continuously we don't do the japa of that mantra. And that takes you to the samadhi, whereas this japa mantra is just one another hanger for
You
the
know,
mind. Period of time.
dwelling on this so much, we just have to keep in mind that japa is helpful when the mind is filled with all kinds of problems. So it's one way to get the mind to concentrate, to help that. It helps. But then to remove the impurities of the mind, there are several things we have to do. That's one of the things that we do is japa. The other one is the karma yoga and the dhyana yoga. So those are things have to be done simultaneously, or depending on what the problems that we feel in our mind, we could use all of those things. So I think, it's just that it's not the only thing it's going to lead us, but it is one of the things.
Yes, you are right. I also think the same way. Japa is needed, no doubt about it. But other tools, very powerful tools, are also available. Use all of them, because mind is also multi-dimensional, in multi directions it moves. So we need multi ideas and multi more smarter than this. That is why the guru is needed. No, Jai Gurudev.
So coming back to this. So Vairagya is mentioned here, why we seek acceptance from others. This seeking acceptability from others is nothing but japa mantra, bija mantra, different mantras. Yeah, usually a japa mantra is you are initiated into one. It could be a bija mantra, it could be anything. Like Gayatri is when you're initiated into, when one does Upanayinam, one is initiated into the Gayatri. So normally, from my understanding, a mantra is you're initiated into it. But you can do any form of chanting, and whether you're initiated or not initiated. Like when you're chanting Bhagavad Gita, it is a form of chanting.
Yeah, usually when they say bija mantra, is it okay if I say Om, and then depending on what your thing is, your guru gives you that bija mantra, and then the Ishta Devata name, and then you say Namaga, whatever. So that's normal pattern of that bija mantra. Of course, in Sagaj, they give you one mantra too. That is something that we um, given us
Yeah.
as
The
bija mantra.
Sahaj Bija Mantra is not to be used as japa.
Not for
Yeah.
japa. That's right. Yeah. So that's
Right.
what I'm saying. Like when we say bija mantra, what I meant by that is that bija mantra is that is also be that seed, right? Seed mantra, and then this way also they say like the guru gives you when you say who your ishta devata is, they give you some thing with that, so that you can do as a japa, I think.
What I do not know is whether when you're initiated, the japa, the mantra is different compared to whether you take it on yourself. So I'm not sure about that. Because in all of this, see, Valmiki, Dhruva, all of them, they were initiated by sage Narada. Similarly, the Gayatri is, you're initiated into the Gayatri. And most other mantras, like even Dr. Savita, she was, I think, initiated, right? By that, by Nanaji.
Yeah, he gave me this Maha mantra.
Yeah. So normally that's my understanding, but maybe I don't know if we can.
No, that's right. The bija mantra, what I'm saying is, it is initiated by your one of your guru. Whoever it is, it's not by yourself. You create that. So I mean, there are all those words, but then that's not how it is. But usually, it's initiated by one of the Swamiji that you see. They can tell you. Then you accept them as and go on. So you can do that way. That other than that, all the other mantras are like the ones we know, like the yesterday, like say Om Namah Shivaya or Om something. That is a regular mantra we know. So that anybody can say it because
Yeah, that is what I was meaning. That is exactly what I was meaning. Is I'm not sure whether there is a difference in chanting like Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya by yourself. Not you don't initiation, but that's what Gurudev says. I think he says Om Namah Shivaya anyone can do, and it will take care of all your everything. It's a powerful mantra in itself.
Right. And same way like Om Namo Narayanaya, or, just Sri Ram Jai Ram, those things are always chanted by anywhere, any temple we go, it kind of repeats in your ears, when you mentioned this in the chat, when they said Bija Mantra, that's what I'm saying. Like it's had to be initiated by the Guru, but it includes that seed word, that mantra in it. So that's what I meant to say.
Correct.
Yeah.
Beach mantra is given by any guru who is your guru. He will give you a beach mantra, and any of these mantras like Om Namah Shivaya or Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Hare Krishna, they are not to be initiated because they themselves are so powerful. They don't need any initiation. Only the beach mantra which the guru gives is to be initiated. These are all Maha Mantra basically. So they have their own power and they don't need any initiation. This I like, and I know this only.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good that we got that clarity. So this seeking acceptability from others is nothing but self-acceptance. Self-acceptance through others. Why should anyone accept you? So that you can accept yourself. Therefore, seeking the acceptance of others can always be reduced to self-acceptance. Whether you seek the acceptance of others or you seek self-acceptance, it amounts to self-acceptance alone. Thus, either you seek acceptance through others or you yourself understand that you do not accept yourself and try to find out whether the self is acceptable, which is the real way of dealing with the problem in fact. Thus, either you seek self-acceptance through others, and then you accept yourself, or you yourself understand that you do not accept yourself and try to find out whether the self is acceptable, which is the real way of dealing with the problem, in fact. So you go antarmukhi rather than, accepting yourself through the eyes of other people accepting you. You look within and see whether the self is really acceptable or not. That you do not accept yourself and try to find out whether the self is acceptable, which is actually the real way of dealing with it. Seeking self-acceptance, then, we superimpose certain attributes upon certain objects, thinking that a particular object is capable of giving something more than it can really give. Superimposing attributes that do not belong to the objects is what we call adhyasa. When what is superimposed, adhyasta, is something positive, according to your thinking, it is called shobhanadhyasa, meaning that which is very pleasing, for which there is a certain enchantment and infatuation. This infatuation or obsession is nothing but a superimposition, shobhanadhyasa. This is so beautifully described. Let me know if you want me to repeat this paragraph.
Did we read meaning about adhyasa? I don't remember.
No, adhyasa is just introduced now. This is the first time it has been introduced.
Okay.
So
we know abhyasa is practice.
Abhyasa is different.
Yeah,
there is
but
only
then
one letter difference.
Right. So adhyasa is like superimposing, is it?
Right.
Okay. Shobhana is what does
Shobhana
Shobha?
is something that is pleasing, something that is positive,
Positive.
something that is desirable, something which is
Okay, got that. Okay.
Shobhana dhyasa. So we have to be careful. In order to come out of adhyasa, we have to do abhyasa and do, So again, this comes back to the introduction of the Gita, where Swamiji so beautifully says, you are the problem. You consider yourself insecure. You consider yourself not acceptable to yourself. And therefore, you seek out. You go outwardly. You become Indriya Rama. You acquire this, that, and that, and you satisfy your sense pleasures, thinking that getting that, you will be happy. That is the superimposing. We superimpose attributes that do not belong to the objects. For example, if you have gulab jamun, for a person who likes sweets, gulab jamun is pleasurable. But for a person who does not like sweets, I mean, I have a colleague of mine who does not like sweets. For him, it is painful. If anybody asks him to eat gulab jamun, he would find it so difficult. So the pain pleasure is not there in the object per se. It is in how we superimpose this attribute upon it. Gulab jamun is gulab jamun. It is just done with that the powder, it's soaked in sugar. That's it. It is our superimposition on that. If I eat gulab jamun, I will be happy. That is the superimposition that we have. So that is Shobhana Dhyasa, meaning that which is very pleasing, for which there is a certain enchantment and infatuation. This infatuation or obsession is nothing but a superimposition, Shobhana Dhyasa. The meaning of Vairagya, objectivity. The absence of Shobhana Dhyasa is what is meant by Vairagya. I'll repeat this again. The absence of Shobhana Dhyasa is what is meant by Vairagya. Vairagya enables one to separate the objective attributes of any object from the subjective superimpositions one may have placed upon it. When superimposed attributes are understood as attributes that are superimposed, the object is reduced to its own status. To think, for example, that the absence of money makes you a nobody is not true. The absence of money makes you moneyless. That's all. This is a fact. The absence of money makes you moneyless. Moneyless, I cannot buy things, is another fact which can be followed by still more facts. That you cannot buy is true, and that you cannot buy on credit is also true, since you have no money to pay later. Even if you buy on credit and do not pay it back, the time will come when you cannot buy on credit either. Who is going to give you credit if you do not pay endlessly? Then one can talk about facts. But that I am a nobody is not a fact. It is a superimposition. The feeling of being a nobody is something very intimate because one has a stereotype of success, a conditioning that takes place by growing up in a society where money is respected with awe and wonder. In such a society, a person's success is talked about only in terms of money. To value money in this way is meaningless, really. Any mafia don, any mercenary or hitman may also have a lot of money. Just because a person has money does not mean that the person is successful. Nevertheless, this is the orientation of some societies in the world. There is also another orientation that to be moneyless is something wonderful. Now, this is quite the opposite. This orientation holds that without money, one should be able to live one's life. Therefore, the person who lives without money, even a beggar who lives in the streets, is highly praised. This orientation is equally silly. Both orientations place a value on money, which is a problem. The problem is not the money itself. Money is just money. It is neither the problem nor the solution, although money can solve some problems like anything else. Even a toothpick can solve certain problems. How wonderful. Swamiji is bringing down money to as simple as a toothpick, if you kind of get the train of thought that he's talking about here.
Yeah, he probably values everything is important. Like, I mean, it has its place, the value.
Exactly. So you give it
Yeah.
its objective value. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
That
So
is
it's not-
objectivity.
Yeah.
You dealing your subjective superimposition upon the object. That is what Vairagya is, where
Yeah.
you remove the Shobhana Dhyasa from the object.
Yeah, like yesterday, I was thinking about what you said when you say Om, you have that pause or like little time, right? And that pause is
Yeah.
that where we get this consciousness. I mean, you feel that the fourth state. I read about it a little bit on that Om thing. They connect. How we say AUM. The A is for the awakened state, and the U is for the dream state, and the M is for the Duriya state, the deep sleep state. So our life is revolves around these three states, and that little space after that is that the fourth one is that
Turiya.
Duriya.
Turiya.
So what did I say about the deep sleep state was?
M. Ma.
Oh yeah, import. And then after that is the Duriya, right? That's called Duriya and called fourth space. So that that one, and then when we read those three things,
yesterday about Abhyasa. Sorry to go back there. The
No need to be
Abhyasa.
sorry, Dr. Mara. We are here
Yeah.
to do Abhyasa only. So repeatedly, we have to go back.
Yeah. So the Vairagya and the Nididhyasana, right? That remember I asked you about the distance between the mind and the I part. That's when I was kind of thinking about it, and then when you think your name or something, and then you watch yourself to see that the distance that we are talking about between our consciousness and this thought. So I is not the thought, but then when the thought comes, there is something is witnessing, right? So that witness is what is this the consciousness. So like when we give that pause thing, that we are really sensing the consciousness, right? That after that the fourth space is the consciousness.
Which is true.
Yeah.
These are tools again. This
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. But it's actually that's only momentary. So we are
correct.
supposed to be dwelling on this.
In that.
So I am trying to connect that with the that that sloka that we read, right? Sarva Bhutas Tanam. What do you call that? Bhutas Tatmanam Sarva Bhutani Chatmani. Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshanaha. So we have to get there. That's a long way to go, right? So we are trying to understand this being is the being in all beings, and then when you see that the self is in all the atmas in yourself, so that part takes a lot of effort to look at it. So I mean, I was just thinking about it, and then I'm trying to figure out understanding this Nididhyasana yesterday. That was but I want to tell you, like, yeah, when you said about
Your
the
voice
Om,
is fading off, Dr. Mara.
sorry, I was practicing Om yesterday. I was trying to do it like way you said. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for sharing. That is a wonderful way to the perception that Uma.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I'm exposed to this. That is waking state, who is the dream state, and the deep sleep.
Yeah, like that, like so when you're awake, everything is in front of you, and trying to say like that, it is like you're in that deep sleep state, kind of, like imagine that way or whatever, after that. But then the way we remember we read it, like whereas the witness is like a consciousness is in and through all the three states, it's there.
Correct.
So but then these are not there, so that's our reality. So that is so profound, right? I mean, like we always read about this waking, deep sleep state, all these things. That is all our life, that's all it is. I mean, we wake up and sleep and wake up and sleep.
Wake up and sleep on this level day to day is this Nitya Laya. When you extrapolate it to cosmic level, it is the Pralaya and the Atyanta the Srishti, Sthiti and Pralaya.
Sthiti, Pralaya, right. So we did that, this chapter only, did we read that one, right? Yeah. Okay.
It's so beautiful. So our inner universe is what is happening in our individual self. Dr. Mara, Brahmara, Bela, Savita, all of us. It's our inner universes. This is, and then we are all, when you extrapolate it to the cosmic level, it is the outer universe. So that is the whole, if you can, the summum bonum of the whole thing, whole creation, the substratum is nothing but Brahman. That aspect, little attribute of that is there in the jiva. So what we need do is get this samadarsha. the Samadarshana Bhava is where you feel one with the entire universe. There is no
Yeah,
difference.
that how we going to bring that in ourselves is that's a little bit of more thinking to do, when we are attached to this nama and rupa, like with our names and forms, and how we going to look inside or outside, or it's all in the we accept this Maya as extension of this Brahman, So we are one with Brahman, then that's how you think you are all in this, or the Brahman is, I mean, we are all in this together, right? So what is that
All
one?
in this together. And
Yeah,
Krishna has very clearly given us two things to do, Abhyasa and Vairagya.
yeah.
It's all mind stuff ultimately, right? So this inner universe that we create, all the subjectivity that we superimpose on the Shobhana Dhyasa on different things is an inner universe. My Shobhana Dhyasa may be different from yours, different from anybody else's. So actually we have to deal with our own Shobhana Dhyasa and cultivate that aspect, cultivate Vairagya, which is seeing it separate, removing the Shobhana Dhyasa from the objects.
From the object. Yeah.
Isn't it? That is what Vairagya is. The absence of Shobhana Dhyasa is what is meant by Vairagya.
Right.
And even this gap that we're talking about, gap between the I and the thought and I and the thing, is not really a physical gap. It is only a recognition that I am different from that. I see that different from, it is different. It is you're in that witness consciousness. Seemingly there's a gap.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Say that again.
The gap that we're talking about, I'm talking of the gap when you chant Auma and then there's a gap. I'm not talking of that gap. I'm talking of the gap in the self, in the mind, in our antakarana, where you see the I is the thought, but the thought is not the I. So you're seeing that separation between the self and the thought.
Right.
That is not actually a physical separation. It is
Right.
only a recognition.
Right. You kind of sense it like, okay,
Yeah,
this is the thought and this is not the thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant by like when it's not physical distance, like when we're trying to read it up and then try to feel it, So, I don't get it when I was reading it. Then I was thinking about it. What is the thought? The thought is that coming from your consciousness only, but then again, when you don't have any thought, that's what that consciousness is. So,
and I know it's a little deviation, but then with respect to Samadarshana Bhava, I was just wanting to share because from the last 2 days I've been doing, it kind of came to my awareness, so I thought I will share it. When I light a lamp, I use a matchstick. You light a matchstick and you're lighting the wick with the matchstick, the flame of the matchstick, right? So when you're lighting it, you do not know where there is no separation between the flame that is coming up from the wick versus the flame from the matchstick. I think each one of us can actually do this for us to understand this.
do that every day.
Isn't it? So for me, it dawned on me, the Samadarsha is, if you can see that there is no difference between this flame and that flame, they're all merge.
Yeah.
If you can come to that state where my flame is different from your flame, it's not like that. The matchstick flame different from wick flame. They both merge when you place the matchstick on the wick.
Right.
So that I thought I wanted to share that. I think that would be the aspect of Samadarsha where It merges. There is no difference between you, me, anybody, whether it's human being, whether it's an object, whether it is everything is.
non-living thing. Yeah. So when we read about this pot example and the gold ornament example, I mean, I kept thinking about all the time, who would have a problem with the Raju Sarpa, but actually, those are good examples, like philosophically,
Yeah.
that rather than this Raju Sarpa thing is, I whenever I heard it in the past, I thought, this is not, I mean, why would they keep saying the same thing again and again? And that now it is that superimposition is basically how the veil of ignorance versus or the error of, they call it this avarna or
Correct.
I wrote it down somewhere in my notes. So that I feel like you said, like the clay pot, it's the same thing what you're saying. It's like Samadarshana, like if you take all you break the pot into small pieces, it's become the clay, and so the clay is the pot. So like that, we're all made of this Brahman, and the Brahman is in all beings. So we are all the same. Like you see what that Sarvatra Samadarshana, like that's what it is. But we have the knowledge, but we have to, bring it to the practice.
Yeah, Brahmaraji Hariom, that is such a beautiful Jyot se Jyot jalao, aapne jo bataya. That is in the Aarti as well, right? It is Sadguru Jyot se Jyot jalao. So,
Right.
very beautiful. Dhanyavad for
So even a toothpick can solve certain problems. That is why Gurudev says, keep your money where it is required. Keep it in the pocket. Even ego, keep it in your pocket. Don't leave it. Don't let the money get into your head. The superimposition is not deliberate. I think I will just read this one part and we'll do neutralizing superimposition tomorrow. I don't know whether Suma or anyone else is there to do the... Yeah, Sumaji is there. We'll go back to Uddhare Natmanam today. We'll do. The superimposition is not deliberate. Therefore, to think that money is the source of the problem is not correct. There is a superimposition here, which is not deliberately done by a person, but is something innate in a psyche that is exposed to a certain value structure, obtaining in a given society, causing the person to place an attribute on money that is not really there. This superimposition, Shobhana Dhyasa, has to be neutralized by looking at money as money is, nothing more. To say that money has no value is just another adhyasa. So we don't take an either extreme. You don't give too much importance to money, neither do you delegate it saying it has no value. Of course, money has a value. It has its buying capacity. Without money, you can't even get a loaf of bread. You are seeing something that is not true. Similarly, if you add something more to money than is really there, it is also adhyasa. Reducing the objects to their own status is enough. By doing this, you will find in yourself a certain dispassion, which is vairagya. I'm just reminded of Sumaji's example yesterday. She was talking about those different items and all that she got into buying by that salesperson. So if you just see an object as an object, look at it as an object. But the problem was that there was a superimposition. Oh, I can this, I will be able to do this, this and that with that, and I'll make my. So it was a train of Shobhana Dhyasa that got her to buy those things in the first place. But if you just look at things as they are, when you see a set of knives over there, you of course have knives at home. You will just look
And
at
that
them knives.
salesman, Brahmaji, he gives the attributes to those objects.
Yeah. And you hook on to those attributes, you hook on to his Shobhana Dhyasa. Exactly. Thank you, Sureshji. So he is creating that Shobhana Dhyasa space in your mind. He says, if you don't get this, oh, you're missing out on something. You end up having FOMO, fear of losing out. If you don't get that object, maybe I'm losing out on something. So you end up buying it. Same thing when some movie is there and some of your friends tell you, oh, it's a nice movie. It is the Shobhana Dhyasa and FOMO, I think both together. Oh, if I don't see that, I would miss out on something. A movie is just a movie. Let it be there. It does not matter whether you watch it or not. You are still complete. Your joy is not going to increase by watching that movie. All that you'll end up is, I'm not saying again that you should not watch the movie. Either way it's not right. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, in our mind, whether we can de-link this adhyasa, Shobhana Dhyasa from any object, any situation. With or without, you should still be happy. A person is dispassionate in the sense that he or she is objective in his or her judgments. Vairagya is understood more in terms of objectivity. Unless we understand its meaning clearly, there will be more problems. It does not mean that there are no desires. To think so means that every desire becomes a new source of problem. We are not creating ideals here, which would only further distance ourselves from ourselves. Therefore, we must be careful not to pick up any further confusion here. Vairagya means to be free of the longing that implies superimposition, Shobhana Dhyasa. And this is accomplished by neutralizing the Shobhana Dhyasa, thereby judging situations properly. So wanting to eat a masala dosa is not a problem, but saying if I don't eat masala dosa, I'm going to become miserable is a problem. And depriving
But
yourself.
it's attachment to the things, right?
Correct. Yeah. And saying, oh, I should not get this thought of masala dosa is also not is a problem. You are creating an ideal situation. Oh, I should not get thoughts. I should not get desires. That is also not right. You can have desires, but you're craving for it. Saying, unless I get it, I will be happy. That is what is. Here, I'm just reminded of what Loveleen was mentioning the other day. She was talking about satisfying yourself with that ice cream, and then you from the next time onwards or so, then you take a hold on your thing. It has two sides to that, I think, right? One is, in your mind, you are not. It is just an ice cream. You're just eating it. You get some little, you have little pleasure, and that's it. It's done with. You don't get it into your head. It doesn't become a raga for you. Only the problem becomes when it becomes such a, what should I say? Instead of it being like a writing on water, it becomes like writing on either sand or on stone. It becomes strong inside of you. Unless I have that, I'm not going to be happy. That is a problem. As long as Your desires are like writing on water. They come and they go. They're fleeting, and they don't stay in your psyche. They don't cause an impression. It's fine. So we'll see.
Didi, Didi, it was more with reference to like mothering the child inside you. Because maybe when you were child and maybe your parents would have said, no, don't eat. Maybe like, of course, it is always for our good, but maybe some impression was left in us. So we can have once, and enjoy it completely, go through that experience, and mothering the child, which is coming up and saying, I want to have it. And then later on, when the next time comes, you go back to this experience. Yes, what is it to in it, that I am looking for, and then silence your mind. So in this way, we mother the child also within us, which sometimes is we need to, because it came here only when we were reading that as we mature, those small impressions which we are left with should also be removed side by side. So
Yeah.
it was with reference to that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very, very beautiful. Very nicely explained, Lavneet.
Yeah, this is for everything. Whatever, this world is for us only to
There's a
enjoy.
lot of disturbance, Madhuri, from that side. Yeah.
Yeah, it is better now.
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah, what I was saying, that all this world God has created for us to enjoy through five senses. But when it becomes a craving, the example which I was giving you, so that craving was so much that ready to go up to any extent to have that ice cream, and in the whole process, ready to acquire all shadripus also, increasing all the negativity, anger, and everything, and ready to call 10 people, and like ready to take all kinds of pains. But I must have that scoop of ice cream. That is that vasana, and then making that impression more stronger within me. That is what like I was trying to explain that day. The difference between like when we are on the path, need to be little bit more sensible, and whatever through the five senses we are enjoying, get totally involved into it like Prakriti Laya. If you are eating it, eat 100%, so that you become one with that action. That really gives, see, the mind is craving. The tongue and tummy is not craving for the food. This distinction we must understand, that the impressions and the vasanas and the mind is running behind all five sensual pleasures. It's not the senses. Senses are the means to reach to that and to enjoy it. But the mind is, see, if we, even if we eat 2 kgs of whatever, अंगूर को क्या बोलते हैं, grapes, 2 kgs of grapes, one after the other, watching some TV or something, we are chatting and we eat 2 kgs of grapes. Still, our mind is not satisfied with those grapes because my attention was not there in the eating process. I never had a proper bite with complete 100% in that process, enjoying that bite and the taste of that grape. That is why 2 kgs also was not enough for satiating my not hunger, not my mind. My mind is the one who is the enjoyer. So 100% be with that action and then done with it. Then it makes a sense. Like how I gave that example of Anand Rajendran made us to eat one big apple for 20 minutes. Like that, we really need to sit with sit and listen to one song which you like it just once or twice. Be 100% with it. Your ears, your mind, your whole your whole consciousness, let it be with that music, and every in between that music norm, whatever is there, and then you are done with it. Otherwise, even if you listen to it 100 times and you are doing 100 things simultaneously, you will never get over that complete satisfaction, and you will never move on from there. In fact, listening to that same song again and again will tire your senses. It will deplete your energy. This distinction I need, what I want to say, we need to practice it. This is what I have very closely observed and heard from Rishi Nitya. Even just observing the one day, it was one night, it was a Purnima, how much he was completely one with that Purnima ka chand, 100% with it, like completely into the samadhi. And I gave him something to eat. He was like not talking to anyone, 100% with that, whatever I have served him. That really made this shift in my understanding. You have the pleasure, sensual pleasures through five this thing, but be 100% with it, then the mind gets completely satisfied and then you can move on. Otherwise, that half left thing, you will never be satisfied with any of the sensual pleasures completely. Jai Guru.
That was beautiful sharing, Madhuriji. We're getting a lot of tools. If you realize, someone was talking of tools. I think Savita ji started off the whole thing. And we're actually getting a lot of tools in our kitty. How to deal with our mind.
Actually, the Vairagya can...
These are different flavors.
Sorry, continue.
These are different flavors of samadhi. Prakriti Laya Samadhi is also one of the flavors of samadhi. So even be with one senses and be 100% with it is also a kind of samadhi.
See, when your senses are completely satisfied, then Vairagya automatically happens. It comes. Because you're not bothered. You need not have to get. Therefore, when you put your 100% in eating or anything, your senses are completely satisfied, then you can go to Vairagya. The Vairagya automatically happens there. When you have too much money, you will not care for it. Like that, you're satisfied with the money, and then
I think here it is not just about experiencing the sense pleasure that will take you to Vairagya. There is an element of Viveka as well. So they go to hand in hand together. You cannot say,
together. Yes.
say, I will just experience sense pleasures. I'm just going to eat with awareness and it will take me to Vairagya. No, but what do you talk about? See, in childhood, we were told not to smoke, not to do drugs. Does it mean you're going to experience what smoking is to get Vairagya for smoking? No, you use your Viveka.
Yeah.
So you use your Viveka. It's a combination of both Viveka and Vairagya. And Viveka and awareness. And then, of course, yes, Vairagya, as we've just read now, is delinking that Shobhanadhyasa, delinking that superimposition, seeing a thing as it is, not giving it too much more than what it actually has. Money is money. It has buying capacity. That is all.
Yeah, the other thing we read in the past, you remember the alcohol person,
Anonymous.
Yeah. So accepting it itself, you have that problem, is a 50% reduced, and then you work towards going down that route where you want to get rid of that habit of whatever it is. So that also, half of it. I mean, if somebody has, I know, like, is accepting your sensual pleasures and things like that, that's one thing. But then, like you said, we have to use our viveka. It is going to be good for our body. The way we buy the objects, right? That is also this is going to be good for us or not good for us. Like, or this is a really need. I mean, in terms of the food, or whatever the. Like, we used to drink soda in the first when we came to US and all that. Oh, Coca-Cola is you just now it is a lot of sugar in it, so you don't want to go near that, right? I mean, it's that. So when we learn about the effects of the food, like you said, the smoking, alcohol, or any drugs and things like that, which we know we bad for you, we away from it. But at the same time, now we know a lot of these foods are also bad for us. So we have to know how much to eat, what to do, exercise and this and that. So like that, at least in this particular one, when I say controlling yourself, sometimes it is difficult for a person who used to do that. And so accepting that they have the problem itself, acknowledging that fact itself, and they say it like 50% down, and then you work towards cutting down on that.
Coming out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say something
Yeah,
here?
please go ahead.
What I have gathered is Vairagya comes with viveka, with wisdom, with that discrimination. Just by experiencing that whatever doesn't bring about viveka. It is the, Vairagya. It is the viveka that brings about the Vairagya. So it is wisdom, as just now Dr. Mara said, that Coca-Cola is not good. That wisdom, when you got that only, you got dispassion towards Coca-Cola. So it is the wisdom that brings Vairagya. This is what I think, not by indulging in it. Indulging in it is avidya, isn't it? Cravings.
Once in a
Aversion
while,
for
yeah, you
avidya.
want to have a little bit of that, it's fine, like, but then again, indulging again, like you want to drink half a cup at a time, like for the sake of it, like you ate pizza, oh, I had to have a Coca-Cola with it. Then, yeah, you know the limit of it, so that way it's okay. But somebody who drinks like one whole bottle of Coca-Cola, you know how much sugar it is. So, and caffeine also on top of it. That's what the where to draw the line here, where you put the stop here,
I would say even the combination of pizza and Coca-Cola is ignorance, because they don't go together, for one, and they create more problems. So when you have that wisdom, even that half a cup or 1 teaspoon also you will want to avoid. So it is viveka that brings vairagya. This is my understanding. And
yeah, they
have
both go hand
few
in hand, Vivek
experiences
and Vairagya.
practicing that as well.
See, here I am not saying that forbidden foods or tamasic foods you should try and all. I am just saying anyways you are using 5 senses, right? You have to eat the food. Choose the sattvic food. Choice is yours. And go for the sattvic. That is the best for your growth as a sadhak. But something, even sattvic, when you are eating, when I am giving the example of grapes or something, it is sattvic food only. But just putting it into the mouth and doing 100 things at a time will not satisfy your mind. We need to understand that the satisfaction comes to the mind, not to the instrument of senses. This,
this again is
differentiation we need
viveka.
to understand.
This is again viveka.
But that viveka will dawn when you are doing that thing 100%. If you are
doing
listening
it with
to music,
awareness.
do it 100%. When you are listening, do it 100%. When now, how many of us we are there in the group How many of us really sitting in front of screen and be 100% listening to this discussion? And many of us, we are moving around also, doing simultaneously so many things. Then you are going through the Gita or Gita is going through you. This is the big question. Same thing for all sensual. It's not the only pleasure I am talking. Senses anyway you are using, no? Five senses, all the five senses continuously, one after another, we are using it. While using it, be little bit aware that when you are 100% with that, then that satisfaction comes through the mind to yourself completely. Then it becomes too easy to move on. Then the mind doesn't hanker for it again and again and again. That's what I was trying to explain. Choice of food, go for the tamasic and try it and all. I'm not saying that. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah, point well taken, Madhuriji. It's not, we didn't talk about that. I'm just talking about one of the other ways to look at it. That like my own problem is coffee. I reduced it, but right now try to only drink 1 cup of coffee. Even that I wanted to slowly go off. So that kind of thing. What I'm talking about. So it's not like even certain kinds of food, like okay, you had one serving, one, like remember Nanaji was saying, when you eat food, you only take one plate. You don't go for seconds. When you go for seconds, that means we are doing more. So that is where it my own personal sake, that I have to remind myself some of these things. So it just that, like you said, yes, yeah, when you longing for some food, like say I want to eat today dosa and chutney or something. Yeah, sometimes it comes to your head like that. Yeah, then you feel like you want to have dosa and chutney. So when you eat it, then you're satisfied and you don't need to eat for next 2 weeks the same thing. So that's one way of looking at what you're saying. I mean, there are so many different ways to look at when people satisfying their own senses or their brain or whatever it is. Basically, it's a mind. So mind is the one doing all these things.
Yes, mind is the culprit. Mind is the one who will take you to the ultimate also.
That is where we are in the fifth shloka. We'll just touch upon this. We'll need to continue tomorrow because we've already reached our time. But taking forward to what Sumaji shared yesterday, we thought we'll just run through what Swamiji is saying. Does anyone of you want to share anything? If you have gone through the PDF? Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanamavasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. And then we have also the sixth one. They actually go hand in hand, like Shimaji said. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat.
I believe, Brahmaraji, it's very important, these two shlokas.
Should
I
we read
would
it?
love to do, yeah, but we can read it, and I don't know how to, but I have just browsed through the text. I didn't get the time to go into depth, but they are very, very beautiful and important.
Should I read a little bit? We'll take another 5 minutes. We'll read today, and then we'll come back to them again. Huh?
Yeah, tomorrow we can have one, because they are very important.
Yeah.
We covered the fifth shloka yesterday, or we'll do it again?
We did not, we covered, as in Sumaji mentioned, she explained it and how she understood that. But what we thought was maybe going back to the PDF and rereading what Swamiji has mentioned would be useful. If any one of you wants to share what you've read, please do that. We'll read the PDF tomorrow.
Yeah, I did not prepare either. I was
Yeah,
I thought
Even I read it once, but
I
I'm
read
not.
it, but I don't know how it would be more explaining. But what I understood, I don't want to waste the time also. But what I understood is that one lift oneself by oneself, and may one not destroy oneself. For the self alone is one's benefactor, and the self alone is one's enemy. So Bhagwan says you are your own benefactor and you are your own beneficiary, and you are your own enemy, and which means that he's explaining that the person in initial shloka he was telling about the yoga arudha who has saved himself, like he has totally free himself from all the undesirable works, like from the life of the sansara, the activities, and he wants to be free from all the problems, and he wants to be secure. So what is how can he do it? One way which Bhagavan says is that you have to remove yourself from the spell of the likes and dislike, raga and dvesha, by recognizing your natural this thing, that your likes and dislikes would not lead you on this path. And once you accept that you do what is to be done, and according to dharma you move, then you don't give any legitimate thinking that you don't accept anything, you don't you will not question any activity when you will follow the path of dharma and without any raga dvesha, and you will not really question, like you will have that frame of mind that you will not prove anything legitimate, that is it this thing I have done, so you prove yourself that this is right, because you are moving according to dharma and not by your raga and dvesha. This is one thing. And another thing which he said was that you have to have the prayerful attitude or the disposition, that the karma yoga, like the person on the path of karma yoga, he will have to be living a prayerful life, appreciating God, that and contemplating on that whatever is to be done according to dharma, and you will not take yourself as the doer. You will surrender to gods, or you will appreciate the gods in a prayerful manner, and you will know yourself that you are just an atma, and when you have that perception that you are only an atma, you don't have your likes and dislikes and all your activities, they are not according to it is according to dharma, then you will have this attitude of understanding the problem behind which the yoga arudha wants to accomplish. Like he wants to be on this path, he wants to go for dhyana yoga. So by doing these two, like surrendering to God and moving away from his raga and dvesha, and by this he can escape from this sansara, and he can like he will give values to yesterday Somaji was saying that he will recognize the value structure, giving priorities to that which is according to dharma again, not going by the Atmarama, that one and thinking that what is right and what is wrong. That is this stage of, this is the first stage of inquiry, which he has to have that frame of mind. And second stage of inquiry would be that when situation comes where one is very helpless, then he should have a prayerful attitude on one's part, that by the help of his body, mind, and senses, he would make effort, because he has the willpower. And he, all the, like in the coming shloka, he mentioned that he has the Ichha Shakti, the Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. So with the help of that, he can walk on this path without making any hurdles on his path, and being in a prayerful attitude, so that he can achieve this Dhyan Yoga. And the second part, what Swamiji described, was being enemy to yourself, is that if your mind is not in order, like if your value structure is not proper, and you are in a confused state, your this Karya Karan Sanghata, the body mind complex, if it is not according to your dharma, and it is you are not acting according to that, you are abusing your will, then you are your own enemy. And this making use of this will, or whatever inner revolution is talked about, the inner revolution, it is a very quiet revolution. It is not of creating of conflicting ideas. It is not to create conflicting ideas. It's only that there's a quiet inner revolution which should take place, and understanding and analyzing the value structure, the dharma, the raga, dvesha, and pinpointing our problems, like whatever, just like a mother observe a child, and she knows what problem my child had, what negative thing he has, or what positive things he has. So just like a mother knows, contemplating in this manner, that how a mother contemplates, you distinguish your own problems, or your own negative aspects on which you have to work, and this way you will be able to lift yourself. It's only that by the help of the will, and by the help of your body-mind complex, that is Karya Karan Sanghata, you will be able to win over your mind, and would be free yourself from the sansara, and be on the Dhyana Yoga. That is what I understood.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's what I understood. Right.
Thank you so much, Savita ji. So clear.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Wonderfully told. Nice.
Thank you. It was nice.
We'll wind up here today, and I would encourage all of us to go through these 2 shlokas once again in the PDF. And tomorrow we'll do a reading. Actually, we'll do a reading so that we get the whole train of thought. Very nicely explained, Savitaji. Also, Sumaji, you brought in a lot of different perspectives yesterday. So let's take this up, because this is, again, 6th chapter is Yoga Shastra. It is about what we have to do. And Krishna, like he said later in the 6th chapter, like Swamiji said, Krishna told Arjuna there were only 2 things that he had to say, that Arjuna had to do. And he dealt with only very briefly in this, but he dealt with a lot of detail in describing what the Atma is, what the Sadhya Vastu is. So let us focus more as sadhaks. This is what we have to understand, get a lot of clarity, and so that we can then put it into practice. That's the whole point. The point is not about finishing chapters. The point is to imbibe and understand and make this knowledge our own.
I didn't understand that word sadhya. That's probably why I was wondering about adhyas. I was confused about that. I think sadhya is the goal to be attained.
The goal to be attained.
Then sadhana is the tool to attain that goal.
Yeah.
So that's a sadhana. Okay, got it.
So we do verse 7 day after?
Yeah, verse 7 we'll do day after. Tomorrow, although I said yesterday we'll stop at 6 o'clock, today it just went on. The discussion was going on in a very nice flow, so I didn't want to disturb that. But tomorrow, we will stop our regular reading at about 6 o'clock. We'll do 10-minute Manana. 20 minutes, let's keep for 5 and 6. We'll be able to read it up tomorrow. Day after, we'll take that. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Today is actually Prem's birthday. So I thought we will wish him all a happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Premji.
Let him realize
happy birthday.
सागर में एक लहर तेरे नाम की, आपको मुबारक खुशियाँ आत्म ज्ञान की। तुझको है अनंत में जाकर मिल जाना, तुझको है अनंत में जाकर मिल जाना। आप है सुंदर फूल हमारे परिवार के, आप है सुंदर फूल प्रेम भैया हमारे परिवार के। हैप्पी बर्थडे।
धन्यवाद. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday, Prem Bhaiya.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy
thank
birthday.
you, thank
It is
you very
Hanuman
much.
Jayanti also.
Yeah, it's
Happy
Yes.
birthday.
It's a nice
Hanuman
coincidence.
give you very nice energy.
Yeah.
Vayu
See, in the Hanuman Chalisa, it is mentioned what Hanumanji gives, what Hanuman Chalisa gives us is Bala Buddhi Vidya.
Vidya, yes.
Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Haravu Kalesha Vikara. In that 1 line, 2 lines itself, so much is there, right? What we are doing, this Manana classes and all this, what we want is Manasika Bala, Buddhi and Vidya, the knowledge. With that, Haravu Kalesha Vikara, all the Vikara of the mind should get washed away. Let us all pray that this happens to us as a non-stop process.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
you.
Have a wonderful day. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
धन्यवाद सविता जी, ब्यूटिफुली एक्सप्लेन। धन्यवाद रमला जी एंड सर्वे।